X here. Oh, wait. Um, I still haven't gotten this shit down right. Hold on. Okay. Welcome everyone to episode 6. What is it? 680, dude? Okay. 680 of the Black Brain Trust. This is Black Fatherhood Talk, Health and Wellness. And I have with me my co-host Johnny Blaze. And when I say my co-host, I mean he's not here with me. We co-host this live stream. What's up, Johnny Blaze?
Hey, what's going on, Complex?
I'm
What's
good,
going on with
man.
everybody out there in YouTube land?
I'm good. Cheerleading and football season is over for the kiddos. So we're back to business as usual on the weekends.
Mhm. So your cheerleading season just ended. My daughter just started working.
Hey, does the sound good? Can you hear it?
Sounds pretty good, yeah.
Everything's good. You hear that yesterday's new quintet in the background?
Oh, that's it playing. Okay, yeah, I'm digging that.
All right, I'm gonna send it to you, man. This
Okay.
this is like that long drive to wherever you got to go type music, man. Well, look, man. And I see Alonzo popped in here. Hey, Alonzo, I think I texted you the link, bro. If I didn't, we'll drop in here in a minute. JV and I we're gonna just kind of preface this this talk here as we do as dads who have experienced a similar path, right? Us being widowed and kind of having to take on, well, I don't want to say the lion's share. It is you take on all the burden,
Yeah.
and we touch on various things based on our experiences, and one of the things that we always have to be mindful of as we age, right, is prolonging our health and prolonging to the best of our ability the time that we're here. Uh, you know, and we want to talk about that today because it's a thing, man. JB just injured himself. Okay, what you got on it, bro?
Okay, so so really the story kind of came about. Complex and I were having a conversation, and one of the things that, like you said, happened. I injured myself. I had my cousin been living with me for the last few months, and he finally got his own apartment. So I was fortunate enough. I know some folks who have some furniture, so all we had to do was come pick it up. No problem there. And get it moved. Went out, rented the U-Haul truck, went and got the furniture and did a lot of stuff. And lo and behold, just not being careful with those mechanics, I tweaked my back. And now I'm going up into week 3 and I can barely bend down and put on socks. So the other part of this, what happened was during the Thanksgiving, I got a phone call where my father had to go into the hospital. Basically, he has a condition known as dry gangrene, and basically have his leg removed. So I had to hop in, I had to cut my Thanksgiving meal short and get on the road for like 8 hours to go see him in the hospital. And my dad, unfortunately, has not really taken good care of himself over the years. And this is what kind of led to this point. So this is kind of where this whole conversation kind of came about, health and wellness as we get older. So
Right.
this is kind of where we are.
Right. Now, I know for me, man, I have health and wellness goals, man. And I'm not even gonna put it on some New Year's resolution 2022 type shit.
Yeah.
It's just more of a modality that I want to switch to going into 2022, right?
Yeah.
Dude, I'll be 45.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even me saying it sometimes just kind of doesn't register sometimes.
Right.
Man, you know what I mean?
Yeah. In 4 months, man, I'll be 49. I'm like,
there you go. Right. And then you're like, shit. Because I maintain a relatively healthy lifestyle, dude. Like a lot of the things that I do just require me to just be active, moving around,
Right.
right? Um, that does not mean though that there's other things with regards to my lifestyle that I can't or I should ignore, right? Because
Right.
as you get older, there's just going to have to be things that you shift. It's like a constant evolution of your own like health maintenance routine.
What's interesting, man. I work in the healthcare field. Most folks don't know I'm a X-ray tech by trade. I'm actually a professor now. I teach X-ray, but it's one of the things where we see a lot of these injuries and whatnot. And as I've learned over the years, you actually have to get more active as you get older to maintain your health.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
not less.
Yeah,
You know,
I've been reading like some black men's health journals and stuff. And I don't know, man, you can give me your input on this, right?
yeah.
Like the one thing that I keep finding is as a common theme, and I cheat on this shit on occasion, right? Because I've been largely pescatarian for like the last 14 years.
Okay.
But the one common theme that I keep finding is that particularly if in our 40s, going into our 50s, there's just something about black men switching to a vegan diet, right? I
Hmm.
keep this is a common theme, okay, that I
Okay.
keep coming across about black men's health and stuff. And this is what I mean. It's like literally I could start today with eating choices. I'm gonna make a like a pasta primavera. So it's just gonna be, angel hair pasta, vegetables, stuff like that, with some rustic garlic bread. I'm literally like you had the brother Demarius Thomas that just passed away, 33 years
Right.
old. Okay.
Yeah, man. I saw that.
Like you know what I mean? And it's always like, we read about brothers that pass and they're always like close in age, man. That shit just bothers me. And especially when they're younger.
Now, I mean, I can't speak on the whole vegan piece. Now, I can speak on how I eat. Now, I do eat a lot of vegetables,
Hmm.
but I mainly what I try to do is I try to grill most of my food, and if the food I
Okay.
don't grill
Hmm.
is mainly it's going to be like chicken or like I've taught my daughter how to cook, but so surprisingly, my daughter actually does most of the cooking here. So she makes spaghetti. She'll stir fry meals. She'll do like a barbecue chicken, but we always have like tomatoes with it.
Hmm.
So that's one of our things. It is, we don't eat a lot. We actually eat. Me and her eat small meals, but we try to eat healthy meals too.
Yeah, I talked to Lionel and I were talking maybe like about a month and a half ago, right?
Yeah.
And so even like with him, he's doing a whole switch, right? And so he's looking at utilizing like CBD and stuff like that. And then in addition to like, changing like dietary or eating habits, he's talking about doing OMAD, 1 meal a day. That's typically what I do.
Okay.
I'll like do something like kind of light in the morning,
Hmm.
and dude, I'll go all day,
Okay.
and then I'll have like 1 meal.
Mm.
And it seems to kind of like, I don't know, man, it does kind of work for me though. But there's other aspects to kind of what I do, that maybe I can shift and change up a little bit. Like everybody knows I smoke weed.
Mhm.
But that is something where, um as I get older, right, there's
Yeah.
different ways of consumption, right? And there was a time when my wife was here,
Mhm.
I used to do a lot of edibles,
Right.
right? And the body synthesizes cannabis and stuff like that a lot different. Whereas smoking, even though there's a medicinal benefit from it, there's also uh, 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 a coinciding bad effect with regards to the lungs, right? So,
Okay.
well, yes, smoke is smoke at the end of the day,
Yeah.
right? So what happens here is that there's a point where you're not really benefiting as much as you used to
Mhm.
because the lungs are starting to suffer.
Right.
And these are things that I'm like, dude, you have got to like. It's not as if you just have to give up cannabis, give up weed or something, but you have to change. right? And I think that's like one of the hardest things as we as black men uh, deal with is changing.
Man, when I was about 25 years old, I got diagnosed with high cholesterol. And one of the things that I had to do was I literally gave up fried chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that it was a little hard, but I mean, it, but I say, you know what, in the long term, it's definitely helped out. I pretty much gave up, fried chicken, pretty much all fried foods. I actually get like, actually feel like nauseous when I get around fast food places a lot of times, particularly like Popeyes chicken or any of the chicken chains. I just
Mm-hmm.
I can't eat the stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, man. I've largely don't deal with any kind of fast anything. I think really, I cook most of my food.
yeah,
Um, I think really it's just like I said, it's having a different food palette and a different profile. Like
right,
what they say, food is medicine,
yeah.
right? I think that's we should like adopt that wholesale as a practice,
But
right?
I think good food doesn't have to taste bad, and I think that's where a lot of people have an issue when it comes to taste, because you can get healthy food that actually does taste good. Now,
Hmm.
I think a lot of time is preparation, and then of course buying good quality food is also important.
Right.
Yeah,
And then there's also even the practice of growing your own, right?
right.
Which I like to do. Um, because I like the food that I like how it tastes. Like after, like I literally just picked it outside,
Yeah,
right? Came back inside, boom, made some pesto.
yeah,
Okay, when clipped a bunch of collard greens, chopped them up, sautéed them. My daughter and I will do a collard green and black eyed pea, kind of like I'll saute the collard greens,
yeah.
right? I'll saute them down and then kind of make a broth, and then I'll boil up some black eyed peas, season that up, and all that. Then you just have a bowl with collard greens and black eyed peas. Your legumes are your protein.
Hmm.
Then you have your collards. You have your greens, and
Yeah.
it's literally something that just it's so simple, but it's so fulfilling when we eat it. So there's also like simplifying,
Hmm.
like just something as simple as black eyed peas and greens in a bowl together. If you make it right, dude, your body will literally feel it a lot more than if you just had like this massive plate of just processed shit. You know what I'm saying?
Like every day, like I normally I have like a pretty decent breakfast in the morning. Normally I either have like a smoothie or I'll do Chick-fil-A in the morning. That's one thing. Now I gotta have my Chick-fil-A. I'll have that, but I'll take like a little bag of stuff to work, and I have two apples, two Granny Smith apples. I'll have a bag of like nuts, a small bag of snow peas,
Mm-hmm.
and like a fiber bar, and I have like a big jug of water, and that's what I normally eat throughout
Mm,
the day till I get home.
mm, okay. JB, let's do this.
Yep.
Do you was there some other were there other things we wanted to, because like we kind of like we just from on the phone, right? We wanted to kind of have this conversation. How
Yeah.
do you want to open it up now? Like how do you want to do this? Because we were just kind of free
Well,
flowing just about health and
right.
wellness, and
Well,
right.
I mean, we can open up, but I guess the thing that I really kind of want to put out there, and maybe we can
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
in depth, was about health insurance, and long term care insurance. Things
And I
like
want to say because I texted a few cats. I want to say Alonzo was one of them. If it's not, then I'll just drop the link, right?
yeah,
Because he's the perfect person to talk about it.
right,
But I wanted to cut. That's perfect, right? Like I wanted to cover all this from all aspects,
yeah,
right? Health and wellness. That's all encompassing. It's not,
mhm,
you know, just hitting the gym.
correct,
It really isn't, dude. It's like it's all encompassing, right? You were talking about the call that you got,
yeah,
right? And then, I don't want to dig too much into it, but even yesterday, right?
yeah,
That's where the insurance part into life planning, stuff like that comes into play,
exactly, yeah,
right? And then there's, before we get to that, what we can do to prolong getting to that stage, right? So we set that up, right?
Mhm. Correct.
But what we want to prolong that as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, literally, you want to, you know, and I don't want to. I'm going to use a very cliche term here. You know, living our best life, but but when you really think about living your best life, it's like really how you got to keep your body straight.
Yeah,
You know,
no,
that,
that's what I mean. It's like,
yeah,
man, I think this is a whole mentality shift,
yeah,
right? I don't think it's just literally just something as simple as going to the gym.
no,
That's a start, right?
mhm, yeah,
But I think we have to look at, hold on, I'm gonna drop the link right now. I think we have to look at what undergirds all of that. It's a mentality shift, right?
yeah,
And,
exactly. I mean,
yeah,
because you know, at this point, we can't live for the now. We have to live for the now, but we also got to live for the future.
right, right. And the now predicates the future to a
Exactly.
large extent, right? Um, I'm glad we're doing this shit, dude.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, because we were supposed to do it yesterday, and
Yeah,
Christmas shopping and all that. But I'm glad we were able to
yeah.
get this one in today. So I dropped the link here. I know Dr. Tia-san Johnson is in the chat. Salute to you, brother. Shonda H. Good afternoon, sis. We got Miss A. She just joined the chat. Welcome. Mike V. What's going on, brother? Mike, I thought I texted you, man. I thought I texted like you, Alonzo, JB, Nagone. I text a few people, but okay. Well, the link's there. Uh, Jackie, welcome. LOM, what's going on, brother? Welcome. Perfect Blackness, what's going on, brother? Welcome. Lonzo, if you're still there, man, please join us.
Yeah. And you know,
Sun is hot. Raw, welcome. He just
yeah.
joined the chat. He said vitamins and minerals. Yes,
Oh
sir.
yeah, vitamins and minerals, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know. Um. Well, okay. Let's circle back to what we were saying here, and as those can join as they would like to.
Yeah, I think one thing, and when you said like the whole mind shift, I
Mhm.
think we need to start looking at health as part of it's a lifestyle. It is a
Right.
lifestyle choice, and I think when we're talking about trying to be successful, men in particular here,
Hmm.
having our finances straight and our skill set straight, but paying for health insurance and having the proper type, all that has to be included in that mix.
Hmm. Yep.
And I think it's one of the most highly overlooked things, and probably next to life insurance.
I think I think they go hand in hand, right?
Yeah,
I think what happens here is life insurance is what ins- it's just that insurance, right? So it insures
the
your
quality of life.
life,
Yeah, afterwards.
right? And the best the best way you can possibly live it is what's gonna ensure that there's value to that, right? What value is there if you check out early, man?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, look, we've talked about this repeatedly. Look, men don't um, men don't reach their financial potential. They don't reach their income earning potential largely until you're in your 50s.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
the stats have always shown this, dude. Like most men become millionaires in their 50s. Okay,
Yeah.
so like we're being very realistic here. Like we're not gonna look. You can run yourself through the ringer and into a early grave trying to chase that high value
Oh God.
man dream.
Yeah.
Okay, right? But like if you're gonna be very pragmatic and very real, right, about your life, you have to understand that things progress over time. Yeah, sometimes you can jump the shark and make a quick chunk, make some money, all that kind of stuff. Shit, I did it in my 20s. But I got to tell you right now, if I knew if I knew how does that saying go? If you know then what you know now, or
Yeah,
something. Yeah, right.
exactly.
Trust me. I'd have way more money in the bank. Okay. So over time, as you get older, your knowledge, right? Your knowledge base, your wisdom base, your experience base, right? You start to understand the importance of what it is that we're now discussing. Things like insurance, things like shifting our lifestyles in such a way where we can prolong it as much as possible, because now we're reaching that income potential, that income generating period of our lives. Okay, but coincidentally, when you reach that point, by and large, you've also lived over half of your life already.
And this is like when you start like looking at employment and jobs, benefit packages are extremely important.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not always going to be about the money.
Yeah, and but what the thing that Alonzo consistently speaks to.
Mhm.
I don't know. I dropped the check. Did Nobody's hit the link? I
You got the link. I
Yeah, I
saw it
dropped
drop.
it. What's going on here? Did I drop the right one? Hold on. E4NY8I3W6. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The link is there. Let me just post it again. I don't know. Maybe. Here. Let me post it again. Because this is what Alonzo speaks to.
Right.
Because see, the thing about employment or insurance given through your employer is that it's only good as long as you work there, right? What about like if you leave there, then it's no longer, you
Mhm.
know, right? So then there's the insurance plan you have for yourself,
Yeah.
right? It's not contingent upon your employer.
So now that
This is the very thing that Alonzo speaks to.
right
Okay, he
now,
said it'll be up in a minute. All right, cool.
okay, good. Because this is the conversation you and I were having. Like most folks know, I'm retired military, so I haven't. So I'm covered because of that. But like I talked to my coworkers who were not, at my job, and they're going through the employment plan, and one of them, she complains that the insurance at our job sucks. The health
Hmm.
insurance is trash, and I'm like, I kind of feel kind of sorry for her, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you now. My daughter, just turned 21. She's out in college, so she dropped off of my stuff, so I had to go out and actually get her some.
Hmm.
And then, so right now, which is uh, it's not too expensive, but it's decent. It's better than what I have at my job. Thank God.
Right.
Hmm.
Hold on. There's Alonzo right here.
Yeah.
Lonzo.
What's going on, gents? How we doing?
Hey man,
Good,
how's it
good,
going,
good.
man?
Hey, did you
Doing
get?
well.
Did I text you the link, bro?
I don't think so.
Shit. Okay, I sent it to a few people. Okay, I thought I'd text you because yeah, we wanted you up on this one, right?
Yeah.
Because as you heard JB, insurance was. That's why I thought I texted to you, because insurance was going to be a part of this conversation.
Well, you spoke to me about it, so you may
Yeah,
have thought
yeah,
that you
that's what I
sent it.
mean. I might
Yeah.
have sent it to you because I remember I talked to you about it. Okay, my
Yeah.
bad. What's
That's
going
all
on with
right.
you, man?
Yeah, I can't complain, man. Like I said, shameless plug, Paycheck Protection.
Shameless plug. Get out of here.
But here's actually something that is important that you guys were mentioning about Black men and health and wellness.
Hmm.
So I heard 49 and 45, right?
Yep.
I'm encroaching 38, so I'm encroaching 40.
Hmm.
And a lot of guys in my age, actually 45 and under, are like, specifically Black men, we're wildly fucking ourselves.
Sheesh.
We have like Virgil Abloh died at 41,
Right.
right? Um,
Demarius Thomas just passed away at 33.
yeah, and let alone the guys who are sitting around running, getting ourselves gunned down, um,
Man.
or killed in all these other manners. Ironically enough, yesterday was my best friend's birthday. Rest in peace. He got killed by the cops in 2015. Um, on some bullshit. Apparently, he's the Incredible Hulk and can punch through concrete walls. But you know, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that is important is this life planning.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the insurance, what ends up happening is, and I've seen this all too often, right? Because I've been doing what I do for about coming up on 11 years now. So I started in this industry at 26, 27. And what I notice is a lot of guys get smacked in the face with the reality of, damn, if I was 21, when I should have listened to these guys when I was 21 and had the expendable income, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, because what happens is things like insurance, for example, JB, your situation where you tweaked your back,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Now, let's say you have, now, I don't know if you've gone or not to your current employer and seen if you've had what's called short-term disability.
No, I
Okay.
have not. Now, granted, I got hurt off the job.
He was off the job.
That's going to suck
Yeah.
because they're going to tell you you're going to get nothing.
Right.
But that may not be absolutely true depending on the carrier and the way that they set it up. 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell you sorry for you.
Mhm.
But there is that one instance where your job or your HR department may have been good in getting a good short-term disability policy for you.
Okay. Now, for me, also, I don't have my job, my employer's health covered because I'm retired military.
Oh.
Yeah. So when I got hurt, I went right to the orthopedic specialist. Hey, they went in there, gave me an injection. Let's do some MRIs, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. Gave him a backiotomy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with your retired military, so here's the thing, because the military, as a financial advisor, government employees are a little bit different. My wife works for the Fed. She is I think she's like a 14.
Okay.
She's a 14. So, you know, she's up there. I'm sorry, no, she's a 13.
Okay.
She wants her 14.
14s are pretty hard to come by, man, but 13 is damn good. Damn good.
Yeah. Well, it took her some fight. So she's she's on a different scale. She's not on the GS scale. I think she's on the IR scale because she works for the IRS. But I think it's the same thing. I don't know. All I know is
it should all be the same.
Yeah. All you government employees piss me off because I can't sell y'all nothing. And it's not because I can't, but the government is like, nope, we're gonna take care of it. We're not letting anybody private get in your stuff.
Yeah.
So like her TSP and everything.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh man. Now I've found some ways to maximize those things. But you got to kind of play around with it. So yeah, if it's off the job, you do want to look at something like Paycheck Protection. So here's where you can get those type of things.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, Aflac, great carrier for what they call
Paycheck
short
Protection.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Paycheck Protection, which would be on or off the job. Okay. Now Aflac will give you, depending on the state. Most of the things I'm going to talk about are based out of New York, which is the heaviest regulated state in the country. Okay. So most of the positions I'm talking from are New York. However, Aflac is great, but don't fall victim to Aflac because a lot of the times they're pricey because people don't know where to go to get their products. Right? You can get a disability insurance policy from your car insurance company. As long as your car insurance agent has his health insurance license. So you may just be able to go to State Farm or Geico or Allstate and say, hey, I want your disability product. Now, oftentimes that may be, and this will actually answer a question someone else had prior to me getting up here. Generally, that may go for companies or self-employed individuals.
I think that was LOM who asked. He said, "Yeah, what about if you work for yourself?"
Yeah, so even still, you can go to your car insurance company. Obviously, I want everybody to come to me, but
Shameless plug number 2.
The shameless plug number 2. Everybody come see me. But if I can't help you, I know where to point you. But that's why I like giving away this free info, right? I tell people all the time, people be like, you got to start getting paid for this. I will eventually, because somebody will hear it and be like, well, why did he send us to them? I want to know what you do.
Yeah, all right.
Okay. So, Alonzo, I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one of the issues that I have recently, this kind of started this whole conversation between me and Complex, was my dad just had major surgery. He had to have a leg removed.
Okay.
Now, what about like putting someone in a retirement home or like nursing home stuff like that? That long term
care.
Can you speak on
So,
that?
long-term care is very, very important. It's a slippery slope, right? Because even advisors like myself will tell you not to get long-term care when you're a certain age, because you probably won't use it. Here's the problem. Once you hit 40, you're going to use long-term care. More people end up needing long-term care at the age of 44 and under than they do when they're older. Because we look at long-term care as just a nursing home. But there's also things like, for example, my brother-in-law got shot in May. Now, he had to go back to work because he had no other way of getting money. But had he had a long-term care or, a disability or a hospital indemnity policy, they would be paying him for being out because he can't feel his feet. So how can he really work?
Shoot.
So with long-term care, you still, approximately what age is your dad?
My dad is 69.
Okay, so he's still in a good age. Here's the problem, because that's the age in your late 50s and early 60s is where you'll see advisors like myself hop all over your dad and say, buy long-term care.
Okay.
Here's the problem. It's cost prohibitive at 60 years old, right? Because now it's going to cost you your whole Social Security check just to get the long-term care policy. Now, there's some cool things that have been flipped around due to that. So life insurance, actually, with certain carriers, will have what's called a hybrid policy. Lincoln Financial Group is one of them. They have an indexed universal life that's hybrid. The reason it's hybrid is because the life insurance, it's a death benefit, but it's there for when you're going to need long-term care. And I say when, not if, because people are living longer. The average cost of a nursing home is $19,500 for just basic. The average cost of a, upscale nursing facility is $104,700 a year.
Yeah, I've been pricing them.
But if he can still get an LTC policy, but then certain things may be disallowed, like the leg, right? So I wouldn't get a disability. I'd get an LTC if I were you, because it's going to cost you substantially less than the actual care.
Okay, hold up. Repeat. Okay, you said you call it an LTC.
Yes, long-term care insurance.
Okay, right.
Good companies for that. Depending on the state, I can help you. And then you've got other. I'm trying to think who some of the good carriers for LTC. Believe it or not, Mutual of Omaha is a good LTC carrier. I used to be able to write for them, but they snatched their business from me because I was in New York. They came to our office on 100 Broadway. Mm-hmm. They brought security guards upstairs and walked us all out the door. Like, none of us were doing anything crazy. They were just like, yeah, everybody, it's your last day. And we're like, what the fuck? What did we do?
Hey, you guys, sorry. I had stepped away for a second. And then I saw somebody in the back and then they just dropped up. I don't know who it was. I just posted the link again, whoever that was.
Okay.
I don't know if it was Dr. Phoenix. I see him in the chat. What's going on, brother? Welcome, man.
Definitely. So the long-term care, I would suggest, like I said, I'd recommend getting that for your dad. It's going to be expensive. You're going to get sticker shock when they tell you the price initially. But then you're going to look at that versus what it's going to cost you for, a decent nursing facility.
Okay.
Because the ones that are $20,000 a year are, They're the 19-year-old girl who's getting her CNA and a Nissan Maxima. She's not really trying to give, good care to that elderly person. You know what
I
I
was
mean?
gonna say Ultima, but okay.
Yeah, also Maxima, whatever. Shit, the way they're getting paid, they're just getting Nissan Versas. These people are getting like only $18 an hour, even though you pay $45 an hour. They're only getting $18 of that, which is fucked up.
Yeah. I think the cheapest, well, like when I was pricing it out, the cheapest one I saw was what, 2,500 a month compared up to like 6,000 a month.
Yeah. So,
Dr. Phoenix.
Doc, how are you?
Hey, Dr. Phoenix, what's going on, man?
Wait, I think he's getting his mic together.
Yeah, I think with his mic together.
Now, Dr. Phoenix, he drives a. Now, Dr. Phoenix drives an Infinity, which should not be confused with a Maxima or a Nissan.
No, it shouldn't.
No.
Said it's cost prohibitive before age 69.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Oh, there he is. What's up, man?
Sorry, good. How are you guys doing?
Good,
Doing great.
brother. How you been doing, man?
I'm well. I'm well. Bit busy, but I'm well.
Hey, I'm glad you pulled up on this one. I have a
Yeah,
new phone, man, and my new phone doesn't have your number in it, so I'm gonna need
Okay.
to email you and get it.
Yeah. Just email me, man. And
Yeah,
just
because I
email
wanted to
me.
hit you for this one also. So I'm glad you pulled up because I don't know. Did you catch the beginning where we just kind of prefaced all of this?
No, I didn't. I
Okay.
literally just
Just pulling up. Okay.
I just pulled up and I just kind of heard a little bit of the conversation. I heard what Johnny Blaze and the gentleman were talking about long-term care insurance. And yeah,
Right.
it was,
And earlier we were also because that was one component, right? Like
Mhm.
we wanted to kind of hit this from a holistic angle, right? So health and wellness essentially just means, and I kind of it is based on the conversations JB and I had during the last couple of weeks, and then some stuff that I came across when I was reading up on some articles, right? Talking about like Black men's health and stuff. And the one common theme that I kept coming across was like how it's beneficial, particularly for like Black men, like in their 40s, going into their 40s, or even sooner, switching over to things like a vegan diet, all these things that have shown, right, that not only can be like life extenders, but also can be a bit regenerative in our condition as well, right? Like if we adopt like a whole scale new approach and mindset to wellness and health, right? The other component to it was the insurance aspect, right? Because we're also talking about like what JV's father's going through, right? See, so we invest in, really putting a lot in, putting stake into our health and wellness. Like then there's the insurance component, right?
Yeah.
So we were just hitting it from like a holistic angle, man. So just whatever you got on the topic, bro.
Yeah, so there's a few things. So
Okay.
one, if I don't know if you caught the interview I did with Mike V over at the Progressive Brothers broadcast, where I talked about prostate cancer, and I talked about really what has been the current trend of what's been happening with Black men and prostate cancer, which is that you've been seeing younger and younger Black men diagnosed with prostate cancer. So in my experience, I've come across many of the Black men that I've met with prostate cancer were under 45, most of them being between the ages of early 40s to around 45 years of age. And also, too, we didn't talk about it at length, but the other cancer that affects Black men in that age group as well is colorectal cancer, so GI cancer. So in fact, GI cancers kill more men than even prostate cancers, more Black men than prostate cancer.
Hey, can I ask a question about that? Because I have a lot of GI issues personally. They're telling me I've had gastroparesis and incontinence and all this other stuff. And, I did it. Like I cut back on like tomato sauce and red sauce completely. And I've cut down even, I think JB, you were saying this, cutting down like the fried chicken and stuff has, and big, complex you're familiar with, you've called me and every other day I'm like, yeah, I'm back at the hospital.
Shit, man.
I haven't had an episode for about 2 months. Because
It's
I've been
a minute, right?
Yeah, I've been kind of cognizant. And I think I want to attribute that a lot to this space because a lot of men have been like, yo, bro, what the fuck? Like, give up the fried chicken, bro.
Man, I was on your ass, dude. No homo. I was like, hey, bro, like, what's good, dude? Like,
no, seriously.
Every man.
Well, I would say this much. In general, keep in mind that the effects of health is a cumulative effect, meaning that it takes years for, whether it's any disease or whatever, it generally takes years for that disease to develop and eventually to progress. And so keep in mind that, I don't know how old everyone is on the panel, but in general, as men are approaching 40 years old, well, let's just keep this really specific. As black men are approaching 40 years of age and older, keep in mind that many of those effects of your diet, your lifestyle, those tend to be the years where a lot of stuff begins to manifest. Keep in mind, men tend to also have heart attacks at a much younger age than women do. And for very specific reasons. Again, most men actually tend to have a heart attack in their mid 40s.
Yeah, man.
Also, and the reason women have it later in life is generally because they're post-menopausal. So they lose those protective benefits of estrogen. And estrogen, again, is a pretty powerful hormone within female physiology that regulates a number of things, but specifically it provides a whole protection against hypertension, cardiovascular disease, heart attack. And so if you look at the rates of heart disease among black men, for example, versus black women, you'll see that in many black men begin to experience heart issues, cardiac issues, heart attacks when they're in their mid 40s, late 40s, and going into their early 50s. So again, we saw that last year, John Singleton had a massive stroke in the early part of last year that killed him. And again, this is very common because you're seeing this in black men because again, those health effects are cumulative. And so because most cardiovascular issues, including hypertension, tend to go undiagnosed or ignored in black men, I should say. Those effects become cumulative. So it is not uncommon, it is not uncommon in my experience to see black men who are 30 years old, who have had strokes, who are 30 years old, who are in chronic kidney failure, and you're 31, 32 years old, and you're on a kidney transplant list because you need a new kidney, you need new kidneys. It's not uncommon for me to see men who have at 30 years old who have out of control diabetes. They do not have well managed diabetes.
Wow.
So it is very common for not just me, but in general healthcare providers to see black men. I wouldn't even say 40. I would say as early as late 20s, 30 years old, to have health conditions that you would normally see in a geriatric patient.
So Dr. Phoenix, so since you mentioned that, because with the thing with my dad, I didn't realize he had diabetes, but basically my dad had dry gangrene.
Yes.
You familiar with that?
Yeah, I am familiar with that. That's usually a complication of untreated diabetic ulcers. Yeah. And eventually, what happens is that he probably had to have an amputation at some point. Correct?
Wait. Like, so untreated isn't that painful?
Yeah. So what happens is
an ulcer, that's painful.
Yeah. So when you kind of think about it, so it's commonly when you hear ulcers, you kind of think of sort of the one that happens in the stomach. You get it from stress. Maybe you're an alcoholic, you drink a lot of alcohol. But but for people with diabetes, they develop ulcers typically on the foot and the legs due to restricted blood flow. And this is why diabetics, when you know anyone that knows anyone that's diabetic, they tell you never cut your own toenails. Always check your feet and look for cuts or anything, any kind of scrapes or cuts or anything like that. Why? Because you're diabetic, you have impaired healing ability. Wounds do not heal. A wound that might take a few days to heal on you and I will probably maybe never heal on a diabetic.
Oh.
And if it does heal, it will take months. But in the process, and this is one of the key complications of dealing with diabetes, is that diabetics have chronic infections.
I was about to say infection.
They have chronic infections, and that's because they tend to develop non-healing wounds, what we call non-healing wounds, or in this case, it'd be sometimes. I used to, when I first got undergrad, I was doing research with a hyperbaric physician. He owned his own wound care practice. There was a big one it's a major one in Wisconsin, probably one of the handful of ones of its kind. So he pretty much all the diabetic ulcers, foot ulcers, whatever, that doctors couldn't deal with these are at top level, trauma 1 hospitals that they couldn't deal with, they would send to him. And believe me, I learned a whole bunch about diabetes and all that stuff in this process. And so what happened was that we would regularly get folks, understand something. People with diabetes, for example, these folks are what we call frequent flyers. These folks are in and out of the hospital. They're in and out of ICUs. Whether they had diabetic ketoacidosis, their DKA.
I actually went through that 3 times.
Oh, you've had DKA? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of that, and again, a lot of that is really the inability for you to manage your diabetes. And so diabetic, this is why this conversation is very important, because healthcare is this all-encompassing thing. It's not just care you receive from a medical provider, anything like that. It's also everything you do outside of the medical care you receive. So it is about your lifestyle. It's about the foods you eat. Are you managing stress in your life? How well are you managing your life, period? And that includes the financial aspects of your life, because again, lack of finances leads to stress in your life. And so again, one of the key takeaways I want men to understand in this conversation is that most of the health effects that Black men experience, I would say, in my opinion, tend to occur between the ages of 30 and 45.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is why you see so many Black men. Like, for example, when I was in Wisconsin, in Wisconsin, Milwaukee in particular, Milwaukee has an epidemic of Black men who are diagnosed with GI cancers, to the such where when I was in undergrad and I was working with the health department as a McNair scholar, I was working with them on their GI cancer prevention program, because this is such a major issue. And again, GI cancers are an extreme issue for Black men, even more so than even prostate cancers, as relevant as prostate cancers are to Black men. And
how because you're saying like it was very almost like an epidemic, and I know here one of the things here in Connecticut, which is we go to Yale very heavily in New Haven for our healthcare, but I am also cognizant that Yale is a medical training school, right? So there's a lot of guys here. We've been diagnosed with first cannabinoid hyperemesis, and then they say it's gastroparesis. How close, I guess, in your experience, has gastroparesis been to the gastrointestinal cancer?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that last sentence.
How closely related would gastroparesis be to the GI cancer?
I mean, it can be interrelated, because again, you do have that general paralysis of the GI system, and so I mean, a lot of GI cancers tend to be something that more manifests with. I can't put this.
Wait, is that Dr. Phoenix cutting out?
No. I was trying to think of a way to kind of phrase this.
My bad.
Yeah,
Hey, wait. Can we do a quick? Dr. Phoenix, can we do a quick disclaimer?
Yes.
So any health related information that you hear in this discussion on this channel is not to be taken as a medical diagnosis. If you need a medical diagnosis for a condition, Alonzo, this isn't related to you. I'm just saying this
No, I
generally
understand.
speaking. You much like how we do all the crypto and the economic shit.
Yeah.
If you need a medical diagnosis, please seek a medical professional. Yeah, there you go. All right, go ahead.
No. And typically, how gastroparesis typically manifests is usually the result of other underlying conditions. So whether it's diabetes, people with Parkinson's disease, for example. So people who already have conditions that can potentially affect the neurological system of the body. So again, keep in mind that, again, nerves innervate all aspects of the body, muscles, tissues, all of that. And so again, gastroparesis is the paralysis of those muscles, which would indicate nerve damage of some kind, or it could be something autoimmune related, because you have a number of conditions that are autoimmune that can attack the nervous system, that can lead to nerve damage. But specifically, you'll see this more, and this is more of an issue secondary to a primary issue. So is it related to cancer? Not necessarily.
Okay.
But however, there are things that could. I'm sorry, say again?
I said, when I heard GI cancer, just scared the bejesus out of me, because I'd been going to the hospital very often with gastroparesis, and I know it's a neurological.
You said you're diabetic, right?
Yes.
And that's most likely what's contributing to that. I don't want to give you anything.
Like we said, we're not diagnosing.
But I would say that typically diabetes tends to be something that can cause individuals to have gastroparesis.
So bottom line, even without this being an actual diagnosis, what's being said is, nigga, stop playing, take care of your diabetes.
Yeah, I mean, again,
in a nutshell,
if you're not taking care of the primary issue, then it's going to lead to a number of secondary issues. So again, this is typically how medicine works, is that if you're not, you don't deal with the symptoms, or you don't necessarily deal with secondary issues. You treat the primary issue. You manage the secondary issues, but you treat the primary issue, if you will. Okay. So until you get your diabetes under control, then that will help to mitigate some of the other issues you may be dealing with. So until you control that, then you will continue to have problems in other areas. And so again, and this is one of the key things about diabetes. I mean, I've talked about this. Well, it's been about 2 years now.
Yeah,
I've been in this space, and so I've talked about diabetes ad nauseum, and Black men just don't listen and have not been taking it serious.
This is why we had to do this refresher, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I do want to get to the part about care planning, because this is something that for those of us in the medical fields, especially those those of us that do inpatient work, like if you're in the ICU or something like that, or the ER or something like that, these are issues that pop up all the time, especially with Black folks, is that there is no long-term care planning. There is no medical insurance. People do not have a power of attorney. Many people don't even have a medical home to even speak of. So they don't even have primary care for that,
right,
for that matter. I mean, people don't have oh my God, it escapes me right now. I've got so many things going through my mind. But the point is that when it comes to Black folks, and we saw this, I referenced the when John Singleton passed away last year from his massive stroke, was that he didn't have none of these things in place. So he had none of these. He didn't have like a power of attorney. He didn't have a living will, or none of this stuff.
Nothing.
So basically, when he died, his estate kind of went into I forgot the term they use. Yes. And so basically his family was fighting over it. I mean, again, when you're in a hospital, I want to make something really clear. When you're in a hospital setting and you don't have none of these things in place, who ultimately makes those decisions in the event that you can't make those decisions for yourself?
Wait, hold on. Shameless plug. JB,
Yeah.
Didn't we do an estate planning live stream?
Yes, we did. We
Let me
talked
dig
about
it up. Let me
these
dig it up and
exact
post it
things.
because it's relevant to what you're saying, Dr. Phoenix. Continue.
Yeah. So in the event that you can't make those decisions for yourself, who do you think makes those decisions? Your family has no ability to do it. Your next of kin, sometimes not even your wife if you're married, assuming. Um, so who makes those decisions? The doctor and the board. And a board. And so they're advised by their attorneys. Hospitals have a board that in the event that a patient is in it, that they don't have anything in place, no living will or nothing like that in place, where people can make their medical decisions for them in the event that they can't make it themselves, that it then comes down to a doctor and a board composed of a lot of times businessmen, not really medical providers, and they're governed by the state laws and the laws, and they're advised by the attorneys because every hospital has an army of attorneys on staff just to deal with these specific issues. And so they're the ones that ultimately make those decisions in the event that you're unable to and you have nothing in place for other people to make those decisions for you.
Here it is right here. Episode 642. You guys wonder why we nerd out and number every goddamn thing. Well,
So,
right
and again, this is a very common issue for Black folks. No end of life preparation, none of that. I mean, and this, I mean, I remember, about a year or so ago, you guys had a discussion about health and about life insurance and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
These are all things that are all tied into each other. Whether you're getting a term policy or whatever the case may be. These things should be something where you're sitting down, especially if you have a family, if you have children, especially, you should be sitting down and have these things in place. Because again, if you're a person of significant resources and you don't have these things in place, this is gonna be a very nasty fight between family members. And as we've seen repeatedly with Black folks, this especially with high profile Black people who have died in recent years. They never had anything in place, whether it was Prince, John Singleton, a number of other Black folks. None of these things were in place. And again, it just leads, now it's up to the families to kind of divide it. People's, personal issues come into play, people's personal motivations come into play. So, again, unless you want to have a doctor and a medical board on a hospital who are going to do whatever in the best interest of the hospital, then these are very critical issues that Black men should be addressing, and in my opinion, should be addressing very early in life.
Yes, I actually can speak to that. Being a financial advisor myself, I see all too often where, I think a lot of that is also the fault of people in my profession, right? A lot of the times we'll come and once I sell you a life insurance policy, I'm out the door. That's not, well, not me specifically, but that's not completing my job, right? And unfortunately, that's what a lot of insurance agents do. They come in, they sell you a policy, and then they're out the door. They haven't done an assessment to see, what your true financial needs are. For example, the average income of $50,000 usually needs at least $1 million policy to cover $50,000 a year for 20 years. Your average person might buy $100,000 policy. But then we don't do further things like sit you with an estate planning attorney, and set up things like healthcare proxy, power of attorney, so that you don't die intestate and have, families arguing over. I can actually speak to that from a personal level. My uncle, Paul Hall, was a dancer, and he had his own contemporary dance troupe called the Paul Hall Contemporary Dance Theater. When he died in 97, in rankings in terms of dance ensembles, he was second in the country to Alvin Ailey. Okay? Now, everybody has heard of Alvin Ailey, but nobody knows who the fuck Paul Hall is. When he died, he had $3 cash, which he gave to me and my other two cousins, and said, "This is all I have. Go, live on $1 and a drink."
Sure.
We ended up having to sell off his stuff. This is a guy who got flown to Japan to go do dances. And like I said, when you're second in the country to Alvin Ailey, you're doing something. You know what I mean? But he didn't do the right thing in terms of setting up stuff for his lineage or his continuation, or even the company to thrive without him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think as Black men, we unfortunately don't value.
We don't take this serious.
Well, look, I didn't take my diabetes serious, so I can understand why men don't take, the whole finances thing serious. But there's something that is a producer who's part of what we call MDRT, $1 Million Round Table, in the financial services sector. So these are the top 1% of performers across 75 countries, right? And this is all financial advisors. Well, one thing we talk about is CSI, coverage, savings, and investments. And not just Black men, but many Americans specifically get it wrong. We, number one, don't do enough coverage. We then don't do savings, and then we hop into investments. What that would be like is if you went to someone to get a house built, and then they started building the roof. You'd be like, "What? Are you going to dig a hole in the ground for the foundation?"
Yeah, like what are we doing here?
If I could just interject really quickly with that statement you just said, that tends to be something I've seen in YouTube in general in this space, with Black men telling men to invest, but you have no savings, and which right. is, you're putting the cart before the horse.
Right.
And that's a fundamental problem, because again, like I said, I've talked about this plenty of times, but I'm going to keep saying this. If you want to put your pulse on what's going on in Black America, get into healthcare. Healthcare encompasses all of this. People just don't realize how, if you took a Venn diagram and you put healthcare right in the center of it, you will see just how many industries and sectors and aspects of life intersect with healthcare, whether it's the finances, it's the insurance sector, it's the social sector, it's policy, it's government policy, tech, all of it. I mean, all of these things are sort of fall into this healthcare sector, and again, and that tends to be, for folks, especially for contemporary medical providers, and this doesn't just include physicians, but your nurse practitioners, PAs, folks. I know a lot of folks that are physical therapists, speech language pathologists. They'll tell you these are very common issues for Black folks. Black folks are either not insured, they're underinsured, they don't have any end-of-life planning, no end-of-life care. And again, I heard briefly you guys were talking about long-term care, nursing home costs. I mean, nursing home costs are have been skyrocketing
and projected to climb, man.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking, and again, CMS doesn't cover most of the costs associated with long-term care. So people thinking that Medicare, Medicaid will cover that they're sadly mistaken. Even the VA won't cover a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I'm learning that.
Yeah, so wow. I mean, because that stuff can get really expensive because of one very specific reason. Whenever you age, what you're thinking about isn't just the banner long-term care, but is what is called the continuity of care. And so basically services that are provided across a spectrum of providers for a number of different things. So as you get older, what are things you need? You might need a speech language pathologist because you might have swallowing issues, whether that's due to atrophy of throat muscles, or you might have had a stroke. You might have Alzheimer's, some form of early onset dementia, which is, if you ain't heard it here, if you hear it later, just remember you heard it here. If you want to know what the new disease of the 21st century is going to be, it will be Alzheimer's and dementia.
Wow.
Because the numbers of people that I have seen and that I'm learning of and that I'm hearing about that are being diagnosed in their 40s were early onset.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Hold up, dude.
Yes,
Slow down. I'm sorry. Alzheimer's in their 40s?
Yes. This is exploding. I mean, and there's a lot of data that has associated, for example, certain sexually transmitted diseases with the development of Alzheimer's, like syphilis.
I just had a joke pop in my head. It's totally inappropriate.
I mean, there's a number of reasons going on for that. A lot of folks are saying this is related very much to the lifestyle. Going back to the general conversation here, health and wellness. A lot of people are attributing this to the lifestyles here in the U.S. that are that may be contributing to this early onset dementia in people under 50. I mean, these are numbers that they've been kind of slowly creeping up, but you know, in recent years, that number has really started to spike in a way that's kind of raising some eyebrows in a sense. But I want to say that, yeah, for the most part, when you're having this conversation, you know, again, part of that long-term care conversation is about continuity of care. You're not just going to need services. And again, you think about some of the common issues that occur as you age. So what's the one thing that happens as people age, especially Black folks? You tend to develop high blood pressure.
Blood pressure, yep.
You know, women, despite when I mentioned this on a panel over a year ago, and people laughed at me when I said this about Black women. Yeah, there's not a lot of data out here on this, but again, any good healthcare provider will tell you, yeah, this is probably an issue. It's just not really a lot of research and data out there to support it, which is Black women having osteoporosis. And that's due to vitamin D deficiency. And in many respects, that's due to vitamin D deficiencies.
Yeah.
And again, and calcium deficiencies, which most people don't understand.
That makes what, brittle bones?
Yes.
Yeah, but vitamin D acts as a carrier of calcium. So you can't just consume calcium without vitamin D per se. Right. So vitamin D actually carries calcium into the bone. So it acts as what we call a co-transport. So it helps to transport calcium into the bones, but also phosphorus is bound to calcium. And so again, phosphorus comes along with this trip into the bones with calcium and vitamin D. Mm-hmm. And so again, there's a lot. Now, when I mentioned this, you know, a lot of folks thought I was crazy and laughed at me or whatever. But again, there's a lot of data out here that certainly suggests that this very well may be an issue for Black women, for example. But again, I know this is for Black women, but I'm just saying these are issues that are popping up because vitamin D has been linked to a number of issues. Vitamin D deficiency has been linked to a number of issues, including just general immune function.
You know, so, you mentioned vitamin D because that's one thing that I see an endocrinologist, and that was one thing I had to increase my intake. And, you know, I'm very thankful that my doctor and I go over my blood work. And thank God I am a healthcare professional. So, you know, so we go through it. And, you know, that was, you're so on the money. And I tell you, folks, if you're not, you need to see your PCP on a regular basis. Go through this blood work with these folks. Ask about certain things. I had to get my testosterone stuff checked. And that's found out I had low testosterone.
Yeah, we call it, it's sometimes just nicknamed low T. Yeah, low T. And this is, believe it or not, this is an issue that's common in that you're seeing commonly in men. A lot of it is related to weight and also some type of endocrine dysfunction. So maybe someone with diabetes. Again, this is one of the principal ways diabetes tends to manifest itself in men, which is sexual dysfunction, erectile dysfunction issues.
ED.
Yeah. And so, and again, as you gain weight, keep in mind, as you gain weight, you know, fat replaces muscle. Mm-hmm. So, and fat cells, adipose tissue, acts as its own endocrine organ. It secretes a number of hormones and chemicals that actually disrupt the normal endocrine process.
Whoa. Dude, you said it acts as its own organ?
Yes. Yes.
Fuck.
Yes. So this is typically why you see a correlation between, you know, as men get older, they gain more weight, they develop more fat, then they tend to have low testosterone. Because again, adipose tissue, again, it helps to increase the levels of estrogen in the body, and estrogen by definition blocks the function of testosterone, actually suppresses it. So this is why as you get older, it's not uncommon to see men get lower levels of testosterone while simultaneously having increased levels of estrogen, but women on the reverse, and specifically this is very true of Black women, where they tend to have higher levels of testosterone and lower levels of estrogen.
Got it.
Wow.
Renaissance man, welcome, brother. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, panel? What's up? How's everyone doing?
Doing well.
Good. Hey, JB, go ahead and hold it down, man. I'm gonna step away for just a minute. I gotta get my kiddo something to eat.
No doubt. Real quick, actually, before you go, JB, I want to ask Dr. Phoenix one more thing that has to. Actually, I can ask you too because you work in the.
Please go ahead, guys, because I actually the hospital just coming by my dad, so I'm gonna be here. But I'm gonna
shit! Yeah.
Okay.
Fuck, dude. Okay.
I'll go ahead and keep it running.
Yeah. Alonzo, hold it down, man. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So, Dr. Phoenix, what I wanted to ask actually, because this actually presses perfectly on what you were saying about people, not doing the healthcare planning and things, and me working again in the insurance and financials industry, I see one thing that's all too often that we don't talk about, which is the MIB. And I'll give you an example. I had a guy who applied for a policy. And then he told me, yeah, my health's good, told our nurses his health's good. But then when we ran his MIB report, we saw he had cancer in 2012. And can you speak to kind of the fact that, the MIB is a real thing, which is the Medical Information Bureau. And when you're doing things like applying for insurances, whether it be long-term care, life insurance, critical illness, major medical, which is just to go see the doctor. We take a look at the MIB information, which is your doctor's notes. So you can tell us you're in perfect health, but if you tell your doctor, yeah, I shoot heroin every day and, other than that, I'm healthy, well, that's going to be on your notes. So then when you apply for an insurance and you tell us, no, we're going to look at your doctor's notes and your doctor's going to write down he injects heroin 3 times a day. Is that something that's real? I don't exactly know from my side because I just get the medical notes.
Yeah. So, no, it's not uncommon to see people who have, either pre-existing risk or factors, or they engage in a risky lifestyle. So again, you see a lot of, again, health insurance and even life insurance is all predicated on how much of a risk you are medically. So again, people who engage in stuff, let's say like smoking, we know that in recent years, you've seen this big push from employers, from health insurance companies, even life insurance companies, for having more employer-based incentive programs to help people to prevent people from smoking and to help people stop smoking, and also to engage in healthier lifestyles, so including exercise and stuff like that. And you see a reduction in premiums as a result. So again, all of these, you're absolutely correct. What you're speaking specifically to are risk factors that make you more or less liable to be considered a high risk investment for insurance company, if you will.
Yes.
And so these things are all prevalent. These things are all factors. So yes. So again, if they know, for example, there's a number of things that can be in there. It can be, maybe you've had, maybe you have a history of uncontrolled hypertension or something like that. That those are all risk factors. Again, we know some of the more unscrupulous practices that we see in the insurance industry. But again, it doesn't preclude you from doing the things that you can do personally to mitigate a lot of your risk factors for things. So again, it is assumed for the most part that someone under 40 is reasonably healthy. It is assumed that. So that is a reasonable assumption. However, again, if you go to apply for life insurance, for example, anyone that's ever applied for it, you have to do a physical. And usually either you go to some place that they have designated, or they will send usually a nurse out to your home to draw some blood, maybe do a physical or something like that to just get a baseline health assessment of.
Well, actually, now we go even deeper. So now we do blood, urine, EKG. We do an RX. We check your motor vehicle. And then sometimes we'll actually get, we'll actually go and get that electrocardiogram and strap you up to the heart machine, depending on the answers that we get from your application. But they'll also do so right when you apply and the insurance agent submits your application to their company does an RX check. So we check to see whatever drug you've been prescribed for. I'll give you an example. I earlier this month did a policy with a buddy of mine who he had a policy with Primerica, and I'm not going to disdain or speak ill of any companies. I'm just to be cognizant of the practices of certain companies. So he had a policy with Primerica, and then he decided that he wanted to replace it with a permanent life policy. So I replaced it for him. But when we did the medical, the prescription background check, he had all these medicines that popped up. He had an amputation and he had a mental health drug for like depression or something. None of this came up when he applied for the Primerica policy, generally because they're like a fraternal organization, so their underwriting is different than a traditional company. So when you're looking at a traditional company, MetLife, New York Life, State Farm, Allstate, Lincoln Financial Group, Mutual of Omaha, those kind of companies, you're going to get traditional underwriting. When you're looking at like a fraternal organization, for example, I write for a fraternal organization called the Order of the Royal Arcanum. They have different underwriting practices, so they won't follow that. But your prescriptions will pop up. Even if you don't take the medicine, they're going to say, well, why are you prescribed this? How long were you prescribed it? And what was it prescribed for? They won't, however, ask your doctor. They will ask you directly. Now, most of us have no clue what a lot of these medicines are for. So that goes back to what JB and Dr. Phoenix were saying. You have to be your own health advocate. I'm learning this as well. You have to be firm and direct because these medical professionals are overwhelmed, right? There's one of them and there's 300 guys in the ER exclaiming that, hey, listen, my problem's the worst. Hey, listen, my problem's the worst. So they may be fast with you and you have to kind of say, hey, listen, I need you to hunker down and tell me what's the situation with my situation. Am I pretty accurate in that, Dr. Phoenix?
Yeah, absolutely. You bring up something very important, which is that I don't think people truly understand just when you look at the distribution of, for example, physicians, you look at the distribution of physicians, for example, most of your physicians are distributed in your major metropolitan cities, usually with associated academic centers. So again, those are your physicians. Those are kind of really your really prestigious jobs and job titles and all of that. That's where most of your physicians are going to be at. But when you look at the folks who probably need the most medical care, in particular those who are most in need of primary care services, those is where you tend to find. That's where you tend to find your lack. You have a lack of medical providers. So whether it's physicians, and so you've had in recent years where you've had nurse practitioners that have stepped in, even PAs that have stepped in, that have been able to really help to facilitate getting many people who normally would not get seen and would not be screened for many of these issues. Yeah, they're able to get into the medical system. They're able to get a viable medical home. And so that helps to facilitate catching some of these conditions before they become more long-term chronic issues. But more specifically, when you look at people who are on long-term care, like, for example, diabetic patients, I give you an example. It's very rarely you'll meet a diabetic patient that doesn't just have diabetes alone. They usually have hypertension, some form of cardiovascular disease, but also many of them are also on some type, if they're men, they're on, men and women, they're on some type of antidepressant. And for men, they may also be on an erectile dysfunction drug. And that's because, one, antidepressants, they do their job well, but they also can in conjunction with whatever kind of disease process you got going on, may also lead to a lack of may lead to erectile dysfunction. And so they're often prescribed, men are often prescribed that in conjunction, which is why if anyone goes back about 10, 15 years ago, there was this huge movement to stop prescribing. Many medical providers were against prescribing antidepressants to adults under 25 because many of them were experiencing heightened levels of depression or some type of psychosis related to it, related to drug usage, related to antidepressants or something thereof, something similar, because of just the natural body's physiology. Brain development has not completely matured, and so again, that led to a number of issues. But more importantly, what you're saying is that yes, the distribution, you're literally having, well, let me just put this in real simple numbers. Roughly, you have about one physician for every 200,000 people.
Jesus Christ.
Let me just put that in about the simplest of numbers I can think of. And and again, so yeah, while you've seen the rise of nurse practitioners and PAs in recent years, there's still not enough of them, as well as physicians, to cover the true number of people who need medical care. And that's not even including, as I was saying earlier, when you're thinking about long-term care, you're really thinking about continuity of care, thinking of people who need all these other medical professionals. So whether it's your home health nurses,
yep,
your speech language pathologist, your physical therapist, your occupational therapist, your dental services.
Damn.
So dentists, I mean, people don't understand, like, dental care is you think it's expensive going to see your physician. It's really expensive to go see your dentist.
Yeah, no, the thing is,
disagree with you on that one.
Yeah. Dental insurance is not healthcare insurance. They're separate.
Yeah, well, completely separate entities.
So healthcare or major. So in terms of what it's titled, no, it's not. What most people know as health insurance or quote unquote health insurance, professionals who are in the industry consider that major medical. So that's just, you go to the doctor and have a copay or whatever. We would consider that major medical. But things like dental insurance and, vision are considered a health insurance product, even though they're, your average person doesn't consider it a health insurance. But it is something different from major medical. It is a separate product and it is a separate policy. And it's very important to go. And I know open enrollment is probably ending now. It's really easy to go to your state's marketplace and get a healthcare product. I would probably recommend that as opposed to even coming and seeing an advisor like myself. A lot of advisors dislike doing healthcare because it's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole. It's a rabbit hole. And I can tell you, like, again, when I went through undergrad, again, my undergrad was in nursing, so I was a critical care nurse before I even went to medical school. So I would tell you personally, there's been plenty of times there's been more times than I can count or even remember of me being on the phone with health insurance companies, trying to track down someone's policy, trying to figure out what they get covered, what the insurance provider will cover or won't cover. I mean, again, medical providers across the spectrum spend hours and hours a week on the phone, talking to insurance companies, doing paperwork, tracking down, and especially if you're dealing with CMS patients. And anyone that's ever dealt with CMS patients will tell you the paperwork for CMS patients, you better be very particular. If there's one thing wrong, they will deny your claim. And it's not like they pay you much to begin with, which is why so many providers don't really like dealing with CMS and CMS patients. Because again, when you're looking at just how messy and how difficult it is to navigate that health insurance landscape, it really is, you probably are better served just by going into the marketplace, as the gentleman was just saying, because it really is a problem. But you brought up something too that I wanted to highlight, which is vision. And this is true for folks with hypertension and diabetes. Anyone that's a diabetic should be, I'm sure you're familiar with this since you're diabetic, but you're having your vision tested once a year at least.
More than that. I
Yeah.
tried it twice.
Yeah, if you've been a diabetic for a long time, and if you're a little bit older, it's probably at least twice a year, but at minimum should be once a year. And that's because the first bit of research I ever did as a undergrad was in diabetic retinopathy. So if anyone's not familiar with that, that is essentially blindness caused due to diabetes. So basically what happens is that the retina, which is the area in the back of your eyes, that area gets damaged. The nerve gets damaged, which is your cranial nerve number 2, your optic nerve, runs through that area. That nerve gets damaged, which eventually leads to what we call microvascular aneurysm. So if you were to look at a picture of the retina of someone with diabetic retinopathy, you would kind of see, it looks almost like, if you ever seen like soap scum on a shower wall or something like that, it looks almost like that, these little white little spots that are basically sites of microaneurysms, which is where blood vessels have burst and leaked into the retina, which led to blindness, which ultimately causes the blindness to develop. And so for many diabetics, it is always an issue. It will almost always be an issue at some point. For some, it may take many years to develop it, and a small percentage may never develop it at all. But then you have a pretty large percentage that do develop it, and the rate at which it progresses is very dependent on the patient. For some people, they can get diagnosed with it, be blind a week later. For some people, they get diagnosed with it. What's that?
That happened to my nephew's father. I was living in Brooklyn, as with my nephew's father, and his father was, at the time, he was dating my sister-in-law, and he was a process server, self-employed, and he used to buy 3 and 4 pairs of phone posits every week, because he'd buy one for my sister and my nephews and himself. And so I told him to get a disability insurance for $65 a month that would, pay up to 60% of his take-home income in the event that he got injured on or off the job. And he decided that was a waste of money. 3 weeks later, he was blind. And then unable to go back to work, obviously. But so, like you said, Dr. Phoenix, that's one of the huge things. Get your vision checked. It's very important.
Yeah. Again, medical providers get health insurance and get insurance in the event that you can't perform your job. I mean, this is especially true for surgeons. They get it because what happens? You might have had might be an accident, whatever. You might lose the ability to use your hands. You can't do surgery. So, I mean, these things are very important. And, so I mean, these are all issues that typically we can mitigate a lot of this can be mitigated early in life. And so again, because this conversation is about health and wellness, again, health and wellness is really a lifestyle, to be real frank. I mean, it's very much a lifestyle, and it's not something that begins when you're in your 30s or 40s. Really, it's something that begins from the moment you're born. And truth be told, it begins in vitro.
If you really want to go there, because
with this complex, you're gonna kick my ass, but I'm gonna have to do this one outside of a Patreon. But I'm going to do a live stream about disability insurance, and some of the different things that people should be looking for. Because as I was mentioning to JB,
I'm back, by the way.
Oh, okay, no doubt. You might be able to get, that what I call STD, short-term disability, right?
Mm-hmm.
But short-term disability is generally from, and depending on the carrier, you can get it from day zero. So actually, I'm going to hijack the panel a little bit, and I'm going to talk about the disability policies, because these are things that we should be having, and it definitely relates to health. And one of the main factors about insurance, and it's hard to explain to people, and this is life insurance, this is, anything that has to do with your health. So life, health, long-term care, critical illness, hospital indemnity.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that has to do with your health, you don't pay for the insurance. Babe, come here. You don't pay for the insurance with money. You pay for the insurance with your health. So the healthier you are, again, like Dr. Phoenix was saying, they're looking at that risk, right? For example, when I was 27 and applied for life insurance with Mutual of Omaha, the company that I worked for at the time, they declined me. Why did they decline me? Because I was 27, but I was overweight. I was a tobacco user with diabetes onset before the age of 50, and I was non-compliant. They were like, bro, you're going to die in 2 days.
Wow.
We're not giving you anything.
Yeah, just really quickly, you hold that thought for just a second, because you just said something really important.
Hey, Dr. Phoenix, can you get kind of muffled? Can you get closer to the mic?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me better?
There
now?
you go. That
Okay,
now I can see the bubble
that.
moving.
No,
okay.
I just want to say, just hold that thought for really quickly, Alonzo. I just want to bring this up because you mentioned something about non-compliant. If a provider ever puts that on your medical records, that is a death knell.
Huh?
Because non-compliance means essentially you're not doing what is recommended and what is prescribed. So whether that you're not taking your prescribed medications, you're not adhering to a particular treatment modality, if they put that on there and you ever go to apply for life insurance or health insurance, yeah, you either they're going to deny you or you're going to be paying some really high premiums.
Yeah, they straight declined me because it said non-compliant. They were like, "Oh, non-compliant. All right, fuck you then. You don't get it."
Yeah, you're not going. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very important because I speak to a lot of young men, and a lot of these dudes got in line to buy the cool gray 11s for the 15th time. I'm like, dude, how many times can we wear Space Jam Jordans?
Jesus Christ.
Which, don't get me wrong, I'm down for collecting them, but while you're collecting,
it's a shoe. I'm sorry, but it's a shoe. Okay.
You have my wife over here cracking up. She said,
I'm sorry.
He's like, it's a shoe. That's why. But we get a lot of young men who, they're buying the cool gray 11s, and then they're like, well, I'll just wait till I'm 40 to buy life insurance. And again, I asked them, well, would you let me buy those cool gray 11s today at whatever price they are, $600 or whatever, wear them every day for 20 years, and then tell you to come buy them for the same price they were today, even though I've been walking around in them every day for 20 years?
Yeah.
Well, no, I wouldn't do that. Well, that's what you're asking the life insurance company to do. Right? Now, if I say it like that, people are like, wait. So waiting around 20 years is like me buying these Jordans, walking in them every day, and then expecting
and then trying to insure them.
Yeah. It doesn't work like that. Right? It's gonna you can get the $100,000 of coverage, but it's gonna cost you substantially more at 47 than it would at 27. Right?
Well, yeah, and I would just also preface that with people expect medical providers to work miracles, and it doesn't work that way. Again, whatever health condition you have, it took years for you to get to that state. It's going to take years for you to get that, to at least get to a level of homeostasis, of biological equilibrium. Okay, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. Yes, many people who are severely sick, if they immediately commit to something, they will see pretty immediate and drastic changes very early. But that's not really the point. The point is, can you maintain that? And that's where that non-compliance comes into, and where people think, okay, well, you saw the immediate effect, or some people, and I've had my fair, I've dealt with my fair share of folks who just said, well, I don't believe none of this stuff you're saying. You're full of it, whatever. I'm gonna do my own thing. And yeah. And I see people again, and I see people again, and I see them again. And eventually, you don't eventually you just don't take these people serious. And unfortunately, this tends to be a lot of black men.
Yeah.
Who think, well, there's all this information out. I Googled this, I talked to XYZ person. Yes, but you're doing all this and you still haven't gotten the results you wanted. And that's the fundamental problem. I'm not saying, medicine is going to cure every single ailment you have. But again, if you're someone that's coming in and you're hyperglycemic and your blood glucose is like 450, I've seen men who come to me on the streets who had blood glucose readings of 600.
I remember you were telling me that one time on a live stream, bro.
I went into the hospital with
the thing about it is that I'm sorry. Go ahead, Alonzo.
I went into the hospital with a 930 blood glucose.
Fuck.
You're probably in DKA.
Bro.
Yeah.
Bro, my blood was serum. Like, it wasn't running through. My blood was just wherever it was in my body was where it was. It wasn't flowing. The doctor was like, bro, you're dead. We don't know how you're alive, but you're dead, just so you know.
No way.
I had a buddy of mine, a similar situation. He didn't even know he was a diabetic. And his girlfriend took him to the hospital, and they said, yeah, you're probably about 10 hours from a damn coma.
Holy shit.
That's typically how many folks find out that they're diabetic. They enter a state of diabetic ketoacidosis. And then they go into a hospital, and then that's when they find out they're diabetic. That's how many folks find out for the first time that they're diabetic. They're already in a state of DKA, and because they don't understand it and cannot recognize it, they're literally, a few hours away from a diabetic coma. And if you're at that point, you may never wake up.
Fuck.
Hey, Dr. Phoenix, I want to ask you something about the whole prostate cancer. And I don't know this particular treatment. Are you familiar with proton therapy?
I'm sorry. Yeah, proton therapy, where you're using proton. You find a beam of proton particles.
Radiation. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm somewhat familiar with it. I'm not really into the field of urology, but I am pretty familiar with it. You see it gets used in a number of things, but yeah, it's something now that they're using to in place of more traditional radiation treatments.
Yeah, we have one here, and usually I take my students there like 2 times a year so they can get a little tour. But while I was there, I found it interesting when they were telling me that the rate of success of the protons versus conventional is the same, but the protons just give you the more quality of life.
Yeah,
because it's not killing the healthy tissue.
Yeah.
But now, and this where Alonzo may kind of come into the problem with the proton therapy is the insurance company. Some of them don't want to pay for it.
They don't want to cover it.
It's expensive.
Health insurance is a scam. They don't pay for anything. They just make you. They have that the whole hospital indemnification act, right? So, and I don't want to say health insurance is just a flat out scam, but for the most part, health insurance, unfortunately, the exorbitant prices that a non-insured person pays are never paid by the insurance companies. Like Dr. Phoenix said, they're spending hours. That's why they actually have medical billing and coding. Because,
I was a claims examiner, dude. I could tell you all about it.
Yeah. So, certain stuff is just like, oh, well, this.
Dude, I used to have to deny claims for like the silliest shit.
Yeah. Go ahead. You can definitely break that down for us, because that's
so much as if you had let's just say you had a procedure done, right? It was an inpatient procedure, right? And per the contract that the hospital or the medical provider has with the insurance company, let's just say they say, okay, we're going to negotiate that this type of procedure is going to cost this much money. Okay. But during that procedure, let's just say for you, Alonzo, or you, Dr. Phoenix, or whatever, right? Let's say you were in there and you said, hey, I'm in pain. I need some extra aspirin. I need this. I need that. Right. per the contract, right? They may stipulate, okay, only but so many tablets of aspirin, only but so much this, and then as soon as the charges pop up on the bill, and they go, wait, I'm sorry, $7 per aspirin, and you gave them how many? Deny.
Yeah, and that's typically how medications are built. You're paying per pill. I don't think people, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because people don't really understand that aspect of why medication prices are so high. They just say, oh, they're very expensive. No, you're paying per pill.
You're paying.
No, that's a very good point you bring up. But I also want to mention too that when you think of some of the more common surgeries that occur in this country, so because we're talking about more as you age, as you get older, the things that would need to be in place. Some of do anyone knows the most common surgery that occurs in people over 50?
The most common surgery.
Or knee replacement.
Close. It's actually hip.
Hip replacement.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a hip replacement.
Hip. Yeah.
Wait. You said the most common surgery
are hip replacements. Yes.
For people what age?
Over 50. Hip replacements.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, I've been in a hip replacement surgery, man. Trust me, it is wild to watch.
No shit.
Yeah, oh man. People think it's all smooth.
I mean, it's a whole hip, bro. That sounds crazy.
Yeah.
People think it's like I would just say it's not pretty. It's not what you think watching a show like ER or something like that. Or Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
No, it's really ugly.
Yeah. You got Thor's hammer going into your hip, basically.
Yeah.
Man, what?
Yeah, they gotta get the hammer in.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. All right. Now my hip hurts. Hold on, dude.
No, that's typical orthopedic surgery. I mean, people think, oh, it looks nice and it looks cool and it's fashionable. No, they got hammers and drills and they're hammering away and drilling away.
I got hammers and drills, dude. I don't even work in medical. Okay.
This is that's orthopedic surgery in a nutshell right there. It's not a very pretty thing. It pays a lot. It sounds cool, but the actual process of it is pretty brutal. To be honest.
And I think my mom's cousin had a hip replacement like a couple of years ago, man. And I remember seeing he was posting pictures on Facebook, like in the hospital bed, giving the thumbs up and all that. And I was just kind of like, damn, dude, they replaced your hip? Ouch.
Yeah, you see a lot of knee replacements in younger people too, especially if they were athletes.
Definitely if they were athletes, bro.
Yeah, a lot of athletes, a lot of active people who, people.
You know what? Wait, hold on, dude. Mike, dude.
Yes, I caught that one, man.
Oh no.
He's got jokes.
Dude, that's terrible. That's terrible.
Hey, Doc Phoenix, I got a question. And in all my years working in the hospital, every time but most of the orthopedic surgeons, most of these guys are huge. I mean, they're like built.
You have to be strong. I don't think people don't realize just how the skeletal system is pretty strong. Mm-hmm. But you tend to find very much a type A type of guys. You're very much guys who are athletic in college. They tend to, if they go into medicine, they tend to go into orthopedics.
Yep.
Because again, you really do have to be quite strong to be able to manipulate bones, crack bones, drill through, hammer through bones. Like, this is not a very pretty process. It's not uncommon to see an orthopedic surgeon that's like 6'4", like you.
Yeah,
it's not a job for the weak, literally and figuratively.
Yeah. I mean, there's a brother on YouTube has a very well-known channel. He's an orthopedic surgeon.
Yes, I've seen him.
Yeah, I want to sub to him.
Yeah. If you, he, I think his specialty is spine. He does spine surgery.
Yeah, I'm sub to him. Yeah.
Yeah, but it can get ugly, man. It is not a very pretty process. Orthopedic surgeries, again, but because you see people who have breakdowns, for example, as you get older. Again, muscles tend to weaken, they tend to atrophy, bones get a bit weaker. So as people fall, again, the number one cause of the number one cause of bone breakage and injury in people over 60, 65 to be honest, is actually falls, and which contributes to a number of broken hips.
Fall risk. Are you a fall risk?
Yeah, so as people age, you know, yeah, people age, or if they have some type of neurological conditions like Parkinson's disease, where they have an unsteady gait, they kind of have a shaky, sort of jittery, shuffly like gait. You know, it could be a number of things. People with MS, people with, you know, people even diabetic. You know, not uncommon for people with certain types of conditions. They're more prone to developing issues with the skeletal system that may require hip replacement, a knee replacement, or something of that nature. But going to what you're talking about, denying claims, it is not uncommon at all to see people get denied claims for cancer treatment. I mean, that's actually very, very common.
Oh, dude, don't get me started on all that shit.
I mean, again, I
can tell you all about that shit too.
Well, here's what's crazy, and that's why I said it's a racket, because I want to speak back to what you were saying, Complex. So personally, I was hospitalized with DKA 3 times, right? And when I came out the 3rd time, I went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, "Have you considered an insulin pump? It's only $12,000." And I was like, I don't care. I mean, I'll get it put, and the insurance company will not pay for me to get an insulin pump, but they will continually, if I go back to the hospital with DKA, they'll pay the $80,000 for me to be hospitalized for 3 days.
Yeah, and you know that's the funny part, because I don't think people understand how much if you have to stay in a hospital, most of your low mid-tier hospital may charge you about 10 grand, 10, 12 grand a day. But if you go to one of these academic hospitals, or one of these hospitals that really don't deal with CMS patients, in other words, they take private insurance only, yeah, they're going to charge you 20 grand plus a day.
Yeah, that's why I went to SUNY Downstate, which is a.
I'm very familiar. I used to live in New York. I'm very familiar.
Yeah.
I'm very familiar.
You know they're going to charge out the ass of SUNY Downstate. Even though now, here's what's funny. Let me tell you this. Because now we know Stokely Carmichael and the whole fight that he was trying to get SUNY Downstate closed when it was the best hospital in Brooklyn, when it was predominantly white. Mm-hmm. When I went there and I got diagnosed with diabetes at SUNY Downstate, they told me I had something called Flatbush diabetes, which again,
wait, particular to a certain borough, a section,
not even a borough, in a section of a
borough. God damn.
So they said you have Flatbush diabetes. But if you understand, anybody who's familiar with Flatbush, Brooklyn, okay, and we're not talking about, down on Eastern Parkway where the small hats own.
No.
We're talking about further up where majority of people are Aders or West Indian.
Yep.
They're food deserts, okay, and they're full of fast food spots.
I was going to say all grocery shopping done at bodegas.
Yes, all grocery shopping is done at the bodega. So, like even when they gave me their nutritionist's menu, luckily my mother is an actual nutritionist, and I should probably start listening to her. They were like, yeah, just have 9 saltine crackers. I was like, wait, first of all, if I have high blood pressure, 9 saltine crackers.
You need a salt.
It's really not the best thing for me to be trying to eat at this point in time. But even in that area, not only are they giving you a lack of good food choices, even the medical professionals in the area aren't exactly telling you what is best to do. And I'll give that example as well in terms of, dude, when I used to go sell in life insurance to the elderly, which is a final expense plan, none of the guys who were working on 100 Broadway with me that were white would go to the projects. They would go out and they'd be like, oh, this is a project building, I'm not doing this. And they wouldn't go and sell insurance to those people. Now, I would all the time, because I'm like, well, screw it. Y'all ain't going to get them checks I am. But they actually believe it or not, people in the projects who are probably socioeconomically strapped believe in purchasing things like insurance to pass on to the next generation.
Really quickly, Alonzo. Shonda H actually brought up a very important point, because you say you were, a doctor recommended you get an insulin pump, and the insurance company denied it. They refused to pay for it, right? Yeah, Shonda H actually brought up a good point by mentioning that, yeah, you should be able to get some data. You should see an endocrinologist. If I'm sure that's who made your recommendation, made the recommendation you should get a insulin pump. That's who told you that.
I was not an endocrinologist. It was actually, it wasn't my PCP, but it was a PCP.
Okay. Well, if you see your PCP endocrinologist, they should get together. You should ask them to get together and be able to provide, and they should be able to provide some data to show an insurance company, because she makes a good point that that an insulin pump will help you better manage your diabetes over that 6-month term, over a 6-month period, which will probably make them more likely to approve it.
Well, I was going to say, because doesn't that go against that whole sort of non-compliance thing, right?
Non-compliance thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I will, again, I think it would probably be a good idea if you check with your PCP and your endocrinologist, and maybe those two can get together to get some data that they can supply to your insurance provider, your health insurance provider, to show that an insulin pump will be a great benefit to you, and certainly it will certainly help keep you out of the hospital and them not paying $80,000, per stay. So, because I mean, a 3-day stay is pretty typical for DKA patient. That's pretty typical, because that's about enough time for them to give you a whole bunch of fluids and get your numbers back under control and all that stuff. So. Mm-hmm. But go ahead, please continue. I just wanted to bring that up because
no, I appreciate it. So actually, back to the long-term care and the disability. Actually, let's look specifically at the disability, which this is paycheck insurance. So this can affect everybody listening, right? So first you've got your standard, which is your short-term disability, right? So that's going to be anywhere from, depending on the carrier, 0 days to up to 2 years, right? Up to 24 months. But when you're looking at disability, there's a couple of things they're going to take into consideration. So that's how much, how soon, and how long. So what do I mean by how much? Whatever your monthly benefit amount is, $1,000 a month, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, whatever, however much money they got to give you a month. How soon is something called the elimination period, and the elimination period is your time deductible. Now, generally, and this is even with short-term disability, they give you what's called a 90-day elimination period, right? Mm-hmm. So this is even if you have, a 3-month disability or up to 24-month disability claim. So for the first 90 days, you have to be out of work and unable to return to work and deemed by a medical practitioner that you can't do your job for 90 days. After 90 days, your benefit period starts, and you won't get a check until day 120. Okay? So a lot of people don't understand that. And then they're like, well, why am I not getting a check? Now, obviously, prices can vary. So then we also have to see how long. Right. So what do I mean by how long? Again, I told you, generally it's up to 24 months, but some disability policies you can actually have, depending on the carrier, up to age 70. Okay. Now, when you're looking at a circumstance like, for example, with a leg amputation, that's going to be a couple of years of rehabilitation. That's not going to be something that you're just going to go get your disability.
Can you even rehab from something like that where you lose a whole limb? You know what I mean? That's a whole sort of life adjustment. I don't even know if that's a rehab,
Yeah, I don't know if that is rehab. That is a whole life adjustment.
Shit.
But even still, you can have, those facilities to take care of you. Now, if you're looking at something like Aflac, which other companies are available to do it, but I've sold Aflac as well. So I'm very familiar with their products. You can have an elimination period as fast as 0 days. So the day you get injured, the day you go to the doctor, Dr. Phoenix says, look, Alonzo, you can't go back to work for another couple months. I call in Aflac, hey, Aflac, I need my claim. The very following week, I'll get a check. But guess what? Something that soon is going to cost me a whole lot more than the 90-day elimination period, right? Because you're paying for how soon you're going to get your benefit. So, you know, where it might have cost me $30 a month for a small policy with a 90-day elimination period, it might cost me $90 for the same benefit amount. But for as soon as day one, hey, I'm injured, day one, I'm starting to get a check, right?
Right,
So
right.
your finances.
Got it.
Yeah,
Now,
really quickly.
go ahead.
No,
go ahead, Dr. Phoenix, you got it.
No, go ahead, continue.
I want to answer your question.
No, I just wanted to bring up something because I know I was reminded of something because because I know we're talking about really for long-term care planning, but I want people to understand also this includes your children. So I mean, I know you guys had that conversation a while ago, Johnny Blaze and Complex about estate planning and children and life insurance and all that stuff. But
yeah, that's episode 642.
Yeah, but health insurance for your children is another area where Black folks are left.
Well, I can attest to that one because my daughter just came off of my insurance.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was something else we were talking about, JB.
Yeah, and I wanted to say really quickly 2 things. One, if you're over a certain age, so if you're of advanced age, so we're talking like 80 plus, and a common problem with people as they age, especially once you're over 80, is usually dysphagia, so difficulty swallowing, weak muscles of the neck. They won't even approve it. They'll just say, look, they too old. We won't get no benefit from it anyway. Just keep them on a liquid diet or some semi-liquid or whatever. Yeah. Or if they're young and maybe they might need, let's say, like speech therapy, for example, they might have to go see a speech language pathologist because they're young. If they're under like 3, as a friend was telling me, that they won't even approve them. They'll just say, look, it's a developmental delay. Give them time. Give a child more time. And it's kind of funny.
Oh shit!
It makes me go back to my nursing days. My days when I was an undergrad for nursing, and you would get questions. You would get like test questions about children, and a common answer would be, "Oh, well, if a 3-year-old presents with this, what would you think? What would you recommend to a parent if they're concerned about X, Y, Z? Oh, well, just tell them it's a delay."
A delay, dude. That's terrible.
But I mean, that's the way insurance companies see it, because they see either you're too old to get treatment, you're too old to get treatment, or you're too young to get treatment. So I just wanted to bring that up really quickly. Please continue.
All right. Well, look. Hey, check it out, JB. I don't know what kind of time we got. We're coming up on 2 hours, man.
Yeah. I just want to ask Alonzo one last.
Go ahead. Okay.
About what he was talking about when it came to the 2 things. It was how soon and how much. But when it comes to like this stuff you're talking about, is that money taxable? Can it be taxed?
It's not supposed to be. But again, it's really going to depend on the type of policy that you have set up. And then your income. But no, it's not. It shouldn't be taxed because you paid for it with post-tax dollars.
Okay.
But again, it's going to depend on the carrier, to be honest, and the outlay of your benefits, if that makes sense. But then also, when we're looking at the how much, how long, how soon, there's actually further stuff into this. So one thing that people think is that you have to be completely disabled to get disability insurance, and that's not true.
That's not true.
So you can actually, they have something called ON-OC for benefit of, for length of benefit, but they also have ON-OC not working. So very similar to like what Dr. Phoenix was saying, because I love working with medical professionals. I sell a ton of disability and long-term care to them and nurses, I sell a boatload of that too, because they see the first hand of it, right? Mm-hmm. But what happens is you have what's called ON-OC and not working. So that means that you can't work in your occupation or work at all for that disability benefit. But most companies, and it's going to cost you a little bit more, but you'll have what's called own oc, so own occupation. So that same scenario, let's say it's a surgeon. Now, obviously, a surgeon's going to have to work with their hands very specifically. But let's say you're unable to do surgery anymore, but you can still go and, type a blog.
Do like a consultation or some shit, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't require, okay.
So you can still do that work and receive your disability.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Or you can go be a janitor and work part-time and be like, well, hey, I can't do surgery anymore, but,
I can clean toilets.
Yeah. And that's actually part of the own oc. So it actually is beneficial and very important with things like disability, and actually probably best to look at while you're younger. So long-term care, because also, JB, I want to give you some kind of resources you can actually look into.
Okay.
One of the things you want to look at with probably your dad is a specific company, Lincoln Financial Group, which ironically enough, I do write for them. But Lincoln Financial Group has one of the few hybrid IULs, which is Index Universal Life, which is the only life insurance I like to sell. If you listen to Dave Ramsey or Sue Zorman, they'll always tell you buy term, invest the rest, because whole life insurance is garbage. They're lying, but they're not exactly lying. It just depends on your situation. Just like going into the medical field, right? We were saying, well, I got gastroparesis. Well, you should go check with the doctor and have them do some tests. I'm not just going to tell you, hey, take this medicine, because I don't know everything that's going on inside. You need to triage me. So the same thing goes for your finances. So when Dave Ramsey and Sue Zorman say buy term, invest the rest, they haven't triaged you. So they can't really tell you to do that.
Can't tell you to do that, right?
Because it's like, okay, well, I never triaged you, so I don't know what your condition is, but I'm just going to tell you to do this. It's not beneficial to anything. So you'll want to check out Lincoln Financial Group. They have a hybrid life policy, which is life insurance and long-term care combined. The reason I think those are a little better is because, as Shonda was saying, long-term care can be very cost prohibitive, especially once you start getting over 40, right? And that's why agents like me love to sell it to you once you start getting over 40, because we're going to get you're going to pay $600-$700 a month.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Really? $600-$700
you're not even using yet.
Yeah. Because
look, I'm about to redo all my shit for 2022, and I was hoping you wouldn't say some shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're reasonably healthy, yeah, I mean they do.
Well, I am healthy, but it's just the fact that I'm in my mid 40s.
Yeah, they factor in age, and they factor in your age and a number of other things. But I would say specifically, like, I would be weird. I would tell you my experience and folks that I know. The companies I probably had the most problems with definitely have a number of problems with Medicare, Medicaid. That's always going to be the case. Humana, Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Oh my God. Well, you know what? I don't care. I don't give a shit at this point. I worked for Blue Cross Blue Shield and Health Net. So
I would tell you I would tell you people I know had the most problems with those folks.
Oh yeah, they were the ones that had me denying the most claims, bro. Okay.
And Aetna.
Yeah, Aetna was the other big one, because a lot of the last place I was at, a lot of folks there were working for what's that construction company, Caterpillar, and they would have Aetna. I think they had Humana as well, but I think Aetna was the main one that serviced their lots of problems with them. But yeah. But those are the kind of the iffy ones.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, basically it's your Kaisers and up, right? Because Kaiser has their own they have their own physicians network, they have their own hospitals, Kaiser just fun fact, Kaiser was born out of the Kaiser Steel Mill out of Fontana, California, where I grew up and went to high school and graduated. Okay, there used to be a huge steel mill there called Kaiser Steel Mill, Now, what they did was they created their own health insurance company in-house to insure the people that were working there at the Kaiser Steel Mill. That ultimately became Kaiser Permanente.
That's an interesting story.
There you go. Little fun fact. Hey, dude, we're over 2 hours. I got to go take care of some stuff. I was planning to go live again a little bit later, but I do need to go run to the store, get some stuff for dinner, do the daddy-daughter thing and all that good stuff. But let's do this. There's one question. Ish Dolo, he said, hey, what do you guys think about getting health, vision, and dental yourself instead of through your job? Is one better than the other? I think, did we touch on that earlier? Wait, say that again, Zoe?
I said we didn't exactly. What we spoke about was, in terms of being self-employed.
Okay. Anybody want to? Let's see. Let's read that question again. Hey, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm not the best person to answer that. That's probably something.
Yeah, I think that's more of a thing of okay, are you an entrepreneur, right? Let's start there. Right? Because if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have to insure yourself, and then I think the question becomes, who or what is the best option for you, right?
Yeah.
Versus you could have an employer. You could say, hey, I don't want coverage. I think in California, I think they stipulate now that you have to have some level of insurance, like if you're a W-2 employee or something like that, right? But
yeah, he's an employee according to what he's saying.
Okay, let me see here. Wait, let me see. What do you guys watch the stream thing, Sean? No, I'm a worker, but I want. Okay, so basically, you have the insurance, and Zoe, you can back me up on this one. If you are an employee, they offer you insurance. I would say that there's various plans you could take at various price points, right? Then what you could also do is or contact or speak to someone like a Zoe, where you can get supplemental life in life coverage. You can get all that to supplement what you have, right? Then there's different types of insurances that you could purchase that really are kind of like stopgaps. So what was it? The Paycheck
Protection, which is disability.
Right. Okay.
Well, I think we got the man that could probably answer that question better than all of us, which is MOT.
That's what I'm saying. He just popped up last minute. What's going on, bro?
He probably answered that question a little bit better than all of us.
Yeah, because he's his own boss.
Yeah. I mean, when I was an insurance producer, life and health, you can get variable universal life policies, which act as a type of investment that builds 2 or 3% per year, or market rate, whichever one that you get. So that way you can have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you could do that, because I had one of those through State Farm. I got that when I first came back in '98, and that thing has like $25,000 in it. And I just been paying the insurance premium. Yeah. Variable universal life.
See, I wouldn't go with variable, because variable, your death benefit and your premium are tied to the stock market. If you go with index, they're tied to it, but you have a ceiling and a floor. Whereas variable, everything is variable. With an index, right, you're attached to the S&P 500 or the Russell 2000, but you have the ceiling and the floor. For example, one of my favorite carriers is Emeritus with their IUL, and they have a ceiling. I believe it's, as of today, 5.9%. Now, your floor may be at 0, but with a variable, your floor doesn't exist. So if the market crashes, which is why I tend to stay away from variables. Most people, I don't know if anybody watches JT the Pocket Watcher, but he'll tell you he prefers his insurance to be insurance and his investments to be investments, which I agree with in terms of a variable, but IUL is still a fixed product. So I like the fixed product. But to speak to the brother who was saying, Ish, in terms of, what to get, if you are an employee, you want to get your company's healthcare benefits, because it's going to be much better in terms of cost, right? Health insurance is extremely expensive when you get it privately. Just substantial. I didn't
No, you can buy into groups. No, you can buy into groups so that way you can get like a group benefit and discount. Like that's what I do for like the health insurance portion of it. You know, for the Blue Cross, Blue Shield or whatever.
Oh, okay.
You can actually do that. For example, I belong to one of the oldest fraternities in the world, you know, to the glory of the grand architect of the universe and all that good stuff. But there's actually many different chapters who have come together and they get their insurance cheaper because they're a group, you know, grand lodge, whatever. Can you hear me? I think he fell off for a second.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah, but you know, in terms of that, you know, like I belong to the United Grand Lodge of New York, right? On 23rd Street. And so, you know, I belong to the Continental Lodge number 281, right? So now I'm talking Masonically here. But when you're looking at that, these groups come together. One of my my WM, well, my ex-WM has 36 placements in mutual fund. Why? Because he was able to, as a worshipful master, get us all to come together and, you know, as a group. So it's really important to, like MOT said, look at those group plans.
Yeah.
Okay. MOT, like, I hate that you came in kind of late, but we're over 2 hours, man. I want to be
okay. That's what's up, man.
Yeah. I just want to be mindful of JB's time, man. Because he's got some things going on and stuff. But damn, man. I wish we would have came in earlier. Shit.
MOT,
that's always the next time.
I didn't know he was in the field. Now I'm gonna recruit you.
Yeah, he is, man. Shit.
Yeah, you need to come be on the team All-Star Advisors, man. Listen, we rocking out. We do it all. My main thing is I like to sell IULs. I don't like variables personally.
No. I have one. I used to be an insurance producer.
No,
that's when I bought it. When I was an insurance producer, I'm not one now. I just do the transportation and land investing and that type of thing now. But when I was, we're talking about early. Probably 2008 or 9 when I was one briefly for 2 years because that's the license class.
Good time.
Yeah.
What state, if you don't mind my asking?
Colorado.
Oh, you know what? It's funny. I have a girl in Colorado. I took her from Charles Schwab.
Wait, you talking about the? Oh wait, I'm about to put you on blast. I was about to say the State Farm chick.
No, that's a different chick. She has a farm agency.
Oh, okay.
She actually wants me to open a farmer. She sent me the referral. She's like, dude, why don't you just open your farmers? I'm like, because I don't want the headache of being the top guy.
Oh, shit.
I don't. I'd rather just let me stay up under my quote unquote, my principal, and then he takes all the risk. That's why I haven't started my company because I don't want that risk yet. I've already been sued for $1 million. She won 41%, which is $410,000 that I don't have. So,
yeah, what pays? What is it? You got to pay the cost to be the boss.
Yeah, it's a process, and as long as you work like you're still an employee and stop trying to benefit and loot the company like a madman, you'll be fine, man.
Yeah. Well, look, let's do this. Let's get last words, man. Like I said, I got to get some. I got to run to the store, get den together, and all that good stuff, and then I'm gonna fire back up in a couple hours.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and go first.
Go ahead, Dr. Phoenix. And I appreciate you rolling through. Hold on. While you do that, I'm gonna email you right now. Hold on.
Yeah. So I didn't. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to hear exactly what was because I kind of came in on the latter part of the conversation. I didn't get a chance to hear.
I mean, you pretty much touched on everything that we prefaced.
Okay. Yeah. So no, just with that, man. No, thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate it. Again, this was a great conversation. And I would just say in general, when it comes to your health and health insurance, these things are better dealt with early in life, especially as as a young adult, as opposed to kind of reaching, 35, 40 plus. And then you want to tackle that because at that point, premiums may be higher. And you might fall into a different risk category because, again, as you get older, things happen, whatever. But in general, no, thanks for having me, Complex and Johnny Blaze, man. No, this is a good conversation, and also great speaking with you as well, Alonzo.
Hey, and Dr. Phoenix, I just emailed you right now.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, and I will catch you guys later.
All right, peace, man.
All right, peace.
Zoe or MOT?
Yeah, I'll go. Thanks for having me on. This insurance thing is great. One of my brothers had a stroke at 45, and that dude is going to paralyze on one side of his body, the right side, for the rest of his life. And yeah, the stuff is very major to have, and it doesn't cost that much a month, but when you don't have it and you really need it, there's really no other help in the world except for Medicaid, and they don't really cover anything. So we got to be on this realistic stuff because, you got to make sure you take care of yourself. All right, thanks so much for having me on. I'll shout out to everybody on the panel. You guys have a really nice day.
All right, MOT, appreciate you, man.
All right.
Thank you. I guess I'll go ahead. Listen, man, again, thank you, Complex. Thank you, JB, for having us. Thank you for the Black Brain Trust and having a space where we can actually come and have these conversations. Hopefully to anyone listening, listen, I wish I would have gotten this information 20 years ago when I was 18.
Hey, Zoe, do one thing for me before you break out. Post your channel. Plug your channel, bro.
Yeah, no doubt. Let me, I'll actually put that in the chat. Give me one second.
Yeah. Please, and I'll go ahead and post it.
Because I think, there's just so much that's important for us in terms of just knowing, right? Because knowing is half the battle. Once we know this stuff, we can act on it, right? Now, I talk about the insurance and the financial part, but really the more important part is the health, because the health is the wealth, and the healthier you are, the cheaper this stuff is, and it can get you big checks on the back end. Okay. Life insurance is not just for you to die. Otherwise, they would call it death check.
Death insurance.
Right. It's called life insurance. The wealthy insure one life at least 7 times.
Yep.
Okay. So with that being said, man, everybody, work in progress every day and see success. And when people challenge you, they challenge you, but they challenge you to challenge you. Accept that challenge. Salute. I'm out.
All right, brother. JB.
All right. Hey, man, just thanks for being here. Thanks. You and I having these conversations kind of behind the scenes on this stuff.
Well, we're back to normal on YouTube doing it now, right?
Yeah, right on. I just found out, man, while we're in the middle of this, man, my dad kind of took a little turn for the worse. So,
God damn, dude, I was hoping that wasn't gonna happen, bro.
Yeah, I kind of figured it was. So I'll be getting on the road here in about the next day or two to go down and go, kind of take care of everything there. But I realized even with all of this that's going on, this is a great conversation, and we learned a lot of stuff here. And Alonzo
absolutely
came in, and I'm hoping that the people who are watching this can really use this information. So, like you said, thanks for the Black Brain Trust. I really appreciate all the things you guys have done for me, and I hope that I can contribute to help other people and grow.
We're doing that now, man. Hey, give me a little bit. I'll check in with you a little bit later, man.
Okay, man, sounds good. But I'm out.
All right, bro. Yeah, I'll talk to you in a little bit. All right, yo. Hey, very productive conversation today, man. Went the way JB and I was hoping it would go. He and I have been planning on this one all week. So, and we have been planning for a minute here to get these conversations back and going. Because, like I said, man, we were also fathers. Hence the Black Fatherhood talk. So sometimes, man, the time wasn't right, but it is now. So we're going to get this back and going. And this was a good return back to form for these conversations that we're having with regards to Black Fatherhood. So I appreciate everyone for hitting the chat, contributing to the conversation. I also want to give a thank you to Alonzo Hall, Dr. Phoenix, JB, of course, MOT, Renaissance Man, and I think that's who all was here. And then, of course, everybody in the chat. Hit the like, share it, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll be back a little bit later for some other stuff. I don't want to say because I have a few ideas for doing a live stream a little bit later. But yeah, just keep your eyes out. We'll be back live a little bit later on. All right, you guys. Peace.